is finally back.
Welcome back to CFL football.
A new season means a new look for the Alouettes and the Blue Bombers after a disappointing showing for both teams last season. Big changes to their rosters have them both hungry for a fresh start.
Duron Carter does it again.
Tonight, the Alouettes will look to veteran quarterback Kevin Glenn and the awaited return of Duron Carter to turn the franchise around.
Andrew Harris would not be enough.
In Winnipeg, the Bombers squad is buzzing as all eyes are on Andrew Harris and the major addition of Weston Dressler. It's the Blue Bombers and the Alouettes on TSN next. What I should say is Friday Night Football begins again because the game got started and got about halfway through the first quarter with Montreal leading at 3-0 when there was a weather delay. Lightning in the skies. They were just about set to resume. Rod Smith along with Jock Climie, Matt Dunnigan, and Milt Stegall. By the way, saw that tease Weston Dressler. He has been injured. He will not return after a head-on-head collision with Ethan Davis of the Alouettes. So Dressler is out of this game. Now of concern for the players on both sides, Milt. They got to start a game after nearly an hour-long weather delay. How difficult is this for players?
It's difficult because you have to get yourself ready, not only physically, but mentally. You think about it, you usually get to the game like, 2-3 hours before the game, and you get yourself ready, you get taped, you get mentally ready, you put on your music, whatever you're doing. Now you have to try to do that in maybe half or a quarter of the time. And the one player I'm really concerned about, Andrew Harris. You remember, he tweaked his hamstring a few days ago, so I'm for sure he was at the game 4 or 5 hours getting it together. Now he has to try to warm that up again. Hopefully he can get that going because they need him in this game.
That's my concern as well. Coming into the ball game, talked about it. You start talking to Hammy 2-3 days before a game. I don't care what kind of hype or how jacked up you are to play in your first game coming back to Winnipeg. That doesn't mean nothing if you're sitting out for the first 4 or 5 weeks of the season with a really pulled hamstring. And, I hope that doesn't happen. But that is a concern of mine coming to this game. And with this weather delay, you can bet that Andrew Harris is logging some time on that bike, stationary bike on the sidelines right now, trying to get hot and lathered because that's not a good situation for him at all to have to stop after he's already been warmed up and go again with that hamstring.
I agree with what both of you just said. I was just thinking of this from the coaching standpoint. If this was further into the game when you had an hour-long delay, I mean, this has been sort of third quarter. Remember, teams aren't showing much of what they're doing in preseason, right? So you're going to see a whole lot in the first couple quarters that you hadn't been anticipating. It would be a great opportunity for coaches right now to make some adjustments. They'd be tempted with an hour in the middle of the game. They'd be tempted to redesign the playbook.
They could have installed a whole new system.
They could have, and they'd be tempted to. But they've only had a small taste of it, and they're probably pouring over what they do have to see what can be changed.
Golden opportunity for those coaches to get in there and tweak things and get guys dialed in a little bit. Yeah, I think it could work for them.
Yeah, and coaches have to take care of their players emotionally as well during this situation. I mean, the good coaches do, right?
That's where the trainers come into play.
It's very true, right? It's a whole team that is you're relying on the whole team to get everybody peaking as they come out of the locker room, like you talked about. There were coaches who didn't believe that was their job. I never liked that. I never liked that coach who said, hey, you take care of your own emotions.
It's not their job, You're dealing with grown men. You're a grown man, Jock.
Everybody's got the way of getting there.
You're a grown man. Get
It's the ball boy's job, as far as I'm concerned, as well. It's everybody's job to get you peaking when you come out of the locker room.
That's your own job, Jock.
I'm glad I didn't play with you, Milt.
I'm glad I didn't either. You would have never had any catches playing with me, Jock.
Everybody's got their own way of getting jacked up. And there's some guys that don't come to the ballpark 2-3 hours before. They come like 20 minutes before. 4
or 5 hours before the game.
I get psyched up every time before I talk to you guys. I wasn't counting on talking to you for an hour. I'm kind of tired of it. No offense.
Somebody pat me on my back. I can't get up on my own.
Head back to Rod Black and Dwayne Ford.
Soft, Jock Climie. You're soft. Soft as hospital cotton.
Hey, listen to OB.
Out of bounds.
Welcome back to our regularly scheduled program. An hour-long delay here in Winnipeg because of the weather that blew through, the lightning that was in the area. This is what the forecast is saying. It's still a little iffy in parts, but we have clear skies in about 40 minutes, so it should be a great night for football. Almost a great night and a half. With an update now on Weston Dressler's situation, let's go down to Sarah Orlesky.
Well, Rod, there isn't a lot of information regarding Dressler's situation right now, but as Rod Smith mentioned, he is done for the game. He is currently undergoing the concussion protocol.
All right, thank you so much. That's certainly not the way that Weston Dressler wanted to begin his Blue Bomber career. 3 catches, 22 yards, and then the hit, the collision with Ethan Davis, the rookie corner. So Mike O'Shea without one of his prize acquisitions for the rest of this game. As we continue on here now. Barely started here in Winnipeg before that lightning crept into the area. 3-0 Montreal. 6:53 now to go first quarter. After an hour-long delay, Kevin Glenn out of the locker room, and it looks like we had motion on the line. And Dwayne, this has to be tough for any. Did you ever go through something like this?
I'm sure I did.
It happens.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. At times during your career, for whatever reason. I mean,
Montreal,
whether it's
number 69, 5-yard penalty.
Whether it's a delay like this due to the weather, whether it's a delay, a long injury delay, all sorts of situations where you're shut down for a while and essentially everybody has to warm up all over again. And I honestly believe the physical part of warming up again is easy. You have sort of a plan, you follow it. But as the guys talk about, it's the emotional part, getting psyched up to get rolling.
Glenn dishes it out once again. And this time Nick Lewis makes his first catch of 2016. Lewis, 14th season now, climbing the list, all-time receivers and catches and yards. Well, as you mentioned, though, here's the thing. In any job, in any sport, be prepared. Anything can happen. And it does. And so now 2nd and 11 for the Alouettes. From the Winnipeg 14. Glenn with time now. Zips it over the middle to Sammy Giguère. And Giguère has a first down up near the Montreal 30.
Kevin Glenn did a nice job just shuffling to his left a little bit to buy time. The Bombers had a twist on that was taking Bass the other way, long way around. It opens up the offensive left side of this formation, which created wide open passing lanes for Kevin Glenn.
Giguère back home again in Montreal, playing with the Alouettes, opening their season tonight in Winnipeg. Glenn now heaves it deep for Duron Carter. Jump ball, and once again, great matchup with Chris Randall, and Randall wins it this time. Ball just hung up a little too long.
Well, we saw this a little bit in the preseason game last week. The faith that Kevin Glenn has in Duron Carter to win jump balls.
Winnipeg, number 43. 5-yard penalty, remains first down.
Penalty against the Bombers, so they'll have a redo here. First down and 5 now for the Alouettes.
You look back at that play, Rod, and there was no separation. There was no indication right off the bat that Duron Carter was going to be open on that play. But Kevin Glenn knows, put it in the right spot. Duron Carter can get it where DBs can't.
Handing it off now to Terrell Sutton. Spins and crashes close to the first down marker. Terrell Sutton coming off a season where he won the rushing title over Andrew Harris on the last day of the season. Won it by 20 yards with 42 fewer carries.
Yeah, Sutton having missed a few games last season. Great race, as you said, right down to the final weekend between Terrell Sutton, Jerome Messam, and Andrew Harris, all three finishing up with over 1,000 yards in 2015.
First and 10 again. They bring the heat. Glenn lets it fly. And again, Duron Carter, who's wrestled to the turf by another newcomer, Kevin Fogg.
We talk about what Terrell Sutton did with the football last year. Here doing a nice job getting involved in the pass protection scheme. He's got to move across that formation. Does a nice job picking up Mo Leggett coming off the edge. And again, that's opening up the passing lane. A key block right where Kevin Glenn is looking to throw that rock.
Sutton stays in the backfield with the veteran Kevin Glenn. 4 receivers to the right. Glenn now downfield quickly for S.J. Green behind cover. Bruce Johnson brings him down, but S.J. Green was wide open on an island, and Kevin Glenn spotted him perfectly for a 39-yard strike.
Well, what you're going to see is with this cluster of receivers, it's going to create confusion. 4 guys coming from essentially the same release point. You're going to see S.J. Green just gets lost. Bruce Johnson is late to react after everybody else sorts out the other 3 receivers. Johnson is left scrambling to try and pick up the 4th guy. By that point, Green is open down the seam.
Just over 3 minutes to go, opening quarter. A game delayed an hour by inclement weather in the area. Glenn going end zone, looking for Stafford. Tried to lay out, and he couldn't get to it.
Well, last season, this was Kenny Stafford territory. Guy who had a breakout season with the Edmonton Eskimos last year after being traded for Fred Stamps. Alouettes found themselves looking for a veteran to fit into a slightly younger receiving corps. Dealt Stafford, but Jim Pop told him at the time, you know, you're going to be a free agent after the year, and we'd be more than happy to have you back if it works out that way.
Glenn again. And a penalty flag flies as he finds Stafford on an inside route. Looks like it's going to be against the Blue Bombers. So this drive will continue.
Illegal contact on a receiver. Winnipeg, number 23. Penalty is declined. First down, Montreal.
Right into the red zone.
Keep an eye on the corner here. Kevin Fogg picks up Sam Giguère and just rides him a little bit too long past that 5 yards. That's what's going to earn him that illegal contact flag.
1st and 10. Glenn now looking to his right, looking end zone, and Kevin Fogg in his first CFL game had an interception in his mitts. Couldn't hang on. Guy who's replacing Johnny Adams on that corner in his first game, and Glenn was looking touchdown here.
Well, this is a nice job. The key play here is Julian Posey, the halfback, a guy who's not normally a box player, but because of the formation, he lines up inside, recognizes he's got to be the contained guy. The pressure that he supplies forces Kevin Glenn to hurry his throw and makes him end up off the mark with his delivery.
2nd down now. Glenn, here's the rush, gets hit, and it is picked by Randall. Chris Randall has the pick in front of Kenny Stafford. Kevin Glenn feels the heat, takes a hit, throws the pick.
Well, Randall's going to get credit for the pick, but the big assist here goes to Khalil Bass. Again, rushing the quarterback isn't just about getting sacks. It's about forcing him to make mistakes. You're going to see Bass come from depth, and he's going to have a free line to Kevin Glenn. The pressure that he supplies, the hit that he delivers is absolutely the reason that Kevin Glenn is inaccurate with this throw. He's got to get it out of there in a hurry. Can't lead Giguère. Chris Randall closing, comes up with the turnover.
Randall, who missed 8 games last year with injury. First game of 2016 has a huge interception, and it's been quite some time since the Bomber offense has been on the field, over an hour now after the delay. So Randall has the pick. Bombers have the ball, but it's a long field. Here it is again. Right in front of Sammy Giguère, and then up and chirping with Kenny Stafford. 2nd and 7, minute to go, opening quarter. Opening night for the Bombers and the Alouettes. Drew Willie now. Here's the rush, and he's going down. Sacked in the end zone for the safety. And they are saying they're spotting him actually at the 1, so not sacked in the end zone. They are saying he actually went down, so the ball will be spotted at the 1-yard line. The Bombers likely will give up 2 anyway.
And watch the great execution on the twist here. John Bowman, defensive end, loops to the inside. Kai Hebert holds up the man on the outside. young center, Matthias Gosen, late to react. Doesn't get back to Bowman. Age ain't nothing but a number.
It ain't nothing but a number. There he is.
Led the Canadian Football League with 19 sacks last season.
So Justin Medlock back in the end zone, very deep. Is going to give up 2 anyway. So the Bombers do get a turnover. They save a potential touchdown or a field goal, but they give up 2 as it stands anyway. So it's 5-0 now. Tomorrow we continue week 1. Rematch of the 103rd Grey Cup. The Red Blacks and the Eskimos tomorrow at Commonwealth Stadium, followed by the Calgary Stampeders and the BC Lions. You and I will be in BC Place tomorrow night. Looking forward to that matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. A couple of young guns, Bo Levi Mitchell, Jonathan Jennings. Jennings, a guy who had his welcome to the CFL moment against the Calgary Stampeders a year ago. And of course, old colleagues turned rivals, Wally Buono and Dave Dickinson, meet for the first time as head coaches, opposing head coaches.
So the Bombers offense sputters near the goal line, give up 2, 5-zip the score. Final 30 seconds here. Winnipeg will kick it back to Steph Logan and the Alouettes. It's been a strange opening night, to say the least. Lightning strikes around the area. They cleared the stands. We had an hour delay, and now we're back. 2 teams trying to turn it around this year. Both non-playoff teams last year. Logan now cutting back. Steph Logan. Ian Wild trying to chase him down, and Macho Harris also gives him a lick. Victor Harris, former Saskatchewan Rough Rider, right there in the middle of your picture, and Kevin Glenn brings out the offense once more.
Kevin Glenn looking no worse for wear after the big hit from Khalil Bass.
You have to think, after last year's opener for the Alouettes, keeping a quarterback healthy would be paramount tonight. If you recall, Jonathan Crompton started, went out. Dan Lefevre came in right away. He went out with injury. Opening game, lost 2 quarterbacks. Going to go to Canadian Brandon Bridge. And Akeem Cato, of course, started his journey. Slant pattern to Carter, close to a first down, up near the Montreal 52, 8-yard pickup.
I find myself waiting for Montreal to run some sort of wheel route or a hitch and go or some kind of out and up kind of deal, as they've set things up so well with so many quick hitting passes. But they're probably getting to a point now where the Winnipeg defenders will start to anticipate that and try to jump some of those routes. May create an opportunity for the Owls to go over the top.
Terrell Sutton, who's held short of a first down on the final play of the opening quarter. One of the longest first quarters in CFL history. Almost an hour and 45 minutes because of the delay. We're glad to be back. CFL season is here. Owls and Bombers, opening night in Winnipeg. We'll continue.
I'm beginning this newscast by apologizing to the American people. We took a dive for the ratings. Everywhere I look, people are screaming about how bad government is. What's your position? People should know what they're screaming about.
You're spinning out of control.
He's trying to do good, and he's risking a lot to do it.
We're coming to a tipping point.
Oh!
He's going to tone it down.
Why is this happening?
Or I'm going to fire him.
The Newsroom. Stream the complete series on Crave TV. Start your 1-month trial.
Milestones asked me to help them promote their summer menu event, and I said sure. I'll talk about $15 entrees like this delicious chicken penne Asiago. I'll tell people about $20 signature dishes like this 10-ounce steak. And I'll even pump up the $5 apps and drink specials like our original Bellini or Heineken, only till June 26th. But I want to do it on your sunny Milestones patio. And I want my own private beach. Milestone Summer Menu Event, only until June 26th.
So finally, the first quarter comes to a conclusion. 5-0 Alouettes. Home opener for the Bombers, season opener for both teams tonight. Night 2 of the CFL season, week 1. Strange one indeed, Dwayne Ford, with the lightning delay, the weather delay. Now we're back and playing. Do you sense a bit of rhythm coming back into this game?
Yeah, well, I think that's exactly it. The teams are starting to find that a little bit. Again, the toughest part for football players, I would say for athletes in general, is they're such creatures of habit. You know, guys have such a routine, such a pattern in terms of the way they prepare to play. So something like this that throws off the routine, for some guys can really impact them. But it looks like everybody's right back into the swing. Everybody's warm and ready to go.
You saw Terrell Sutton being stopped. 3rd and a long yard. Jim Popp is not going to go for it right now. He brings out Boris Beatty, who is going to punt the ball back to the Blue Bombers to open this second quarter. Quincy McDuffie back near his 12-yard line. Big foot Boris Beatty, but this is not a good kick. And it just bounces out of bounds. Bombers will start near their 30, and Drew Willie returns to the field, and I'm sure hoping above hope, and especially Bomber fans hoping that Drew Willie has a successful campaign, mostly in the health department.
Yeah, absolutely. Take a look back. The injury history of Drew Willie as a Winnipeg Blue Bomber. Significant injuries each of his 2 seasons here.
He is 5 for 5 tonight. Andrew Harris peels off his first big run as a Blue Bomber. Well, one thing is for certain, the Bombers are a different team with and without Drew Willie.
Yeah, and there you see the numbers with Drew Willie, without Drew Willie. Over the course of the last couple of years. Obviously a much more competitive team with their #1 pivot in there.
Handed off again. Bit of a bobbled handoff that time to Darvin Adams. Looks like he is going to be short as well. So again, a 2 and out for this Bomber offense, and probably struggling to get some rhythm even too, because they thought they would have Weston Dressler. They had him for a couple series, and Dressler, of course, out of this game, undergoing concussion protocol, and that's a blow to the Bombers on opening night, to say the least.
Yeah, and I know the boys in the studio had a discussion about whether Dressler should have gone out of bounds or not. They're feeling clearly a little different than mine. I think Weston Dressler is the kind of guy who wants to prove something to his new teammates. Wants to be a leader, and sometimes you take those risks.
They expect you to look a certain way, associate with the right people, be seen in the right places, and never stray from the script. But you're okay with being an exception
to the rule. Because the rules weren't made for the exceptional. They were written by them.
Introducing the strikingly redesigned 2016 Lexus RX.
There's more than one way to enjoy the Tim Hortons Ice Cap this summer. Satisfy your craving for the creamy, cool, and refreshing taste of the Ice Cap. Also available in Mocha. Ice Cap. It's made for our summers.
I'm asking you to solve a problem.
Problems like that.
What are you involved in, Ray? What really happened?
Get messy, get real. That's the whole deal.
The music is good, and you meet some great people.
Something is in the air.
gives you wings.
We mentioned Chris Randall starting in a position he didn't necessarily expect to when training camp opened. He's over on that short side corner spot. That means he's getting to see a lot of this guy. Number 89, Duron Carter. Two of them had a little exchange before the game. They've had a pretty good battle going on over there since it started. Randall winning that round. And he's got a pick to show for his efforts so far as well.
Couple of pump fakes from Kevin Glenn to Nick Lewis, who needs about 4 players to bring him down. Ever wonder what it's like to tackle a grizzly bear?
Chris Randall, former teammate of Nick Lewis's in Calgary.
Well, I'll tell you, what a leader that guy is right there. Nick Lewis, before the game, during the game, after the game. Still keeps on going. Great set of hands. Terrell Sutton, left side. He's 2nd and 3 yards, it looks like, for the Alouettes. Team that finished 6-12 last year. First time they didn't make the playoffs since they came back into the Canadian Football League.
As you see Chris Randall continuing his busy night, coming up in run support from that corner spot. Bringing down the always tough Terrell Sutton.
Out of the backfield this time. Sutton's got room on the far sideline. Knocked out of bounds near the midfield stripe, and Terrell Sutton. And now we got some rough stuff on that far side. Macho Harris into it. Steph Logan into it on the sideline after Sutton takes off after that pitch and run.
Well, I like this play from the point of view of a key breaker for the Montreal Alouettes offense. One of the things
after
with
the
this team.
Major foul, unnecessary roughness. Montreal, number 19. 15 yards, first down.
Montreal typically dresses at least 2, often 3 international running backs, 3 Americans at that position. They use them all a little bit differently, and the guy who will catch the most passes out of the backfield isn't Terrell Sutton, even though he plays the most snaps. Usually when they're throwing to the backs, it's usually Brandon Rutley catching the ball. So I like that as a little bit of a change-up, a little bit of a key breaker to show the defense something different. And as you saw, Sutton slipped out into the flat relatively unnoticed because it's not something the Winnipeg defense anticipated.
Rutley, key in this Alouettes offense, but scratched tonight. Not in the lineup, and there is a challenge here. Now, you saw the penalty. S.J. Green was playing big brother there for Terrell Sutton. Took an unsportsmanlike penalty. And now S.J. Green and Sutton being escorted to the sideline for a moment here. S.J. Green was wondering what was going on, so there's a challenge flag. We'll find out what this is about from Kim Murphy here.
Well, obviously we don't know what's being said from here, but a pretty heated verbal exchange going on between the players as the Winnipeg huddle is basically in front of the Montreal bench at this point. Terrell Sutton took exception to something that was said as he was going towards the sidelines, and he made a beeline back towards that Winnipeg huddle. S.J. Green came and intercepted him.
Again, it was Sutton and Macho Harris originally, then